Good afternoon. Your security guy show is on the air. I am the doctor, and as always, we have a full plate today to talk about, to discuss, to give you the information you need to better protect your world, the information and the tools you need to better protect your world. Now, you'll notice we got a new background in the back. It is an incredibly hot day where I am. I don't know about where you are, probably where you are as well. And so we're gonna get through it all. We're gonna get through this. The summer won't last forever. Some would probably wish that is not the case, but summer won't last forever. And so in the meantime, we are going to survive the heat, aren't we? All right. So lot to talk about as I noted, and we're going to start with how did we do at the World Cup? Well, it appears that we did pretty well. Latest report out. It is a preliminary report. The official report will be out who knows when, but it seems to suggest that we didn't have any of the issues that we thought we were going to have. That is a good thing. We did well, and that has to do, I think, with planning, with everybody being on the same page. Now, will that continue now that the World Cup is over with? I don't know. Only only the shadow knows. But we're going to give it a shot, I hope, where everybody kind of plays together, shares information. Now, a lot of technology was used, facial rec in particular, drones. We stopped, I think, well over 500 drones, even after we told people you can't fly drones over certain areas, etc. So overall, thumbs up. We did good. And again, let's hope we can carry that on through. Now, last weekend, we had a couple of issues this weekend, but last weekend, there were nine mass shootings. That would be the weekend of 18 July last weekend. Nine. Now, what does that have to do with y'all? Well, what it has to do with is the fact that this these incidents were all at regular stuff, right? Things that you might go to, that your family might go to. Nine people are dead, 60 wounded in Colorado, in Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Arizona, Tennessee, and two in Minnesota. We're talking about the Waffle House. We're talking about at a restaurant in Oklahoma City, outside an event center in Minneapolis, at a park in Jackson, Tennessee, at a nightclub. Can you believe that? Right? Here's the point, and we say it with great regularity. It is a shame that we have to do this. I did security this past week at just this past week, yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at Vacation Bible School for our church. Vacation Bible School. Now, I don't know whether any of you ever went to Vacation Bible School. Let's drop this a little bit. That'll help. I don't know whether any of you ever went to Vacation Bible School. I did. I even worked as some there as a teenager, as our teenagers, some of our teenagers at our church did as well. And I'm telling you, it was good. It was great. Our vacation Bible school was great. The kids had a phenomenal time. I had an opportunity to spend time with number six. That was a lot of fun as well. Of course, we had to stop at Starbucks on the way to vacation Bible school. But nevertheless, it was a really, really good time for all. But here's my point. I was security. Now, there wasn't any problems, and there probably wouldn't have been any problems if I hadn't been there. But a party at a park in Jackson, Tennessee, and there's a mass shooting. A restaurant at a party in Oklahoma City, 2 dead, 3 injured. Now, to be fair, this happened after midnight, and what is it that your mama always told you, your grandmama always told you? And here I am, excuse me, yawning again during the show. Uh, Nothing good ever happens after midnight. And of course, this is an unimaginable tragedy. Tennessee Park, Jackson, Tennessee, 12 shot, 3 fatally. This happened beginning around 11 p.m., 2300 hours. 2 people dead at the scene, third person pronounced dead at the hospital at a park in Jackson, Tennessee, downtown Tucson, Arizona. Entertainment district around, wait for it, 0200 hours. All kinds of people coming out of the clubs. Excuse me again. No doubt the last call had already been given. Somebody opens fire. We have a significant cultural problem. That's what it boils down to. Don't read into it something I did not say. But we have a pretty significant cultural problem. Now, there's always been violence. There's always going to be violence. There have always been people pissed off, and some of whom historically resorted to guns. This is a lot worse. Now, I am not a fear monger. There are probably, well, 9 cities. I told you where, 9 states. It probably didn't happen in your city or your state. That's not, do it again. I don't understand it. That's not the point. The point is not whether it did or didn't. The point is whether or not it could. And if you have people where you live, the answer to that question is yes. What are you prepared to do? Asked Jimmy Malone to Elliot Ness in the great movie The Untouchables. I ask it to you. Are you prepared? Are you ready? And if you're not, what will it take to get you prepared and ready to rock and roll if you have to? Now, as we've said before on the show, the best way to not be a victim is to walk away. And to be honest with you, and I've said this for years, and I've been blasted for years, you're victim shaming and all of that kind of stuff. And no, I am not victim shaming. But if you choose to hang out in some places, and most of you know where those places are, where you live, in your neck of the woods, as Al Roker said, outside your window, as Dylan Dreyer says, you know where those places are. If you don't go there, you've decreased your chances of being a victim. And if you go there but not stay late, well, Rush, you're saying I can't go where I want to go. No, I'm saying go wherever it is you want to go. But be prepared, be aware, be ready for, excuse me again, I do not know what it is. Something in the lighting, something in the microphone. I don't know. Hey, you like the new background? Be ready for if the stuff goes south. Now, does that mean you can't enjoy the event the at its fullest? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means for you. But these are not big cities. Tucson's a big, well, I shouldn't say it that way. Oklahoma City is a large city. Jackson, Tennessee, not so much. There was a shooting in Asheville, North Carolina. Asheville still recovering from the hurricane, I'm guessing. Guess what? That happened too. 0220. Minneapolis is a big city, so I don't know about Newark, Delaware. I don't think anything in Delaware is very big. I don't think even Dover is very big. That was at a Waffle House at 12:10 a.m. And in most of these places, we don't know who the bad guys were. We don't know who the bad guys are. Or if we do, there hasn't been any follow up reporting. And there's probably not going to be, particularly if the bad guys turn out to be not in line with the media. Yeah. Again, I apologize. I honestly can't explain this one. The yawning. Just trying to be honest with you, trying to be real, as they say. See, when we were on the radio, I could yawn, scratch my head, whatever, and nobody knew it. But this is different. I think in many ways this is better. That's why a lot of radio shows are live streaming on YouTube and some are live streaming on Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know what the answer is. I wish I did. Now, the warrior goddess, she doesn't let these things change her plans much at all. And I'm telling you, she's Toby Keith. She's not as good as she once was. She's as good once as she ever was, though. I will give her that. She hasn't had to do that in the last couple of years or do anything that is related to that in the last couple of years. But nevertheless, this is a problem. And it has got nothing to do with guns. Every time this kind of stuff happens, we go, well, it's a gun problem. No, it is not a gun problem. And it is not gun violence. It is human violence. Guns don't do anything if you don't have it in your hand and you pull the trigger. We've had reports, not last weekend, obviously, but we've talked about them. We've had reports of mass stabbings. And I remember as clear as day, I can't find it, and I apologize for that. But I remember clear as day, there was an article after a mass stabbing in either Australia or China. And some professor somewhere said, well, at least with a knife, you're not as likely to die. What? While that may be technically true, I'm not entirely sure I would agree it's even technically true, but while that may be technically true, what are we going to get rid of knives? Many years ago, an elderly woman, she was in her certainly late 60s, early 70s, hit her husband, killed her husband with a coffee mug, which, by the way, did not break. So, we're going to get rid of coffee mugs? We're going to get rid of knives? Well, nobody needs those tactical knives. I'm not convinced I know what a tactical knife is, but okay, if we can identify what a tactical knife is and get rid of them, we're going to get rid of kitchen knives. What is the Food Network going to do if we don't have kitchen knives? What are chefs going to do? How are your tomatoes, your jalapenos? Yeah, we watched the Food Network this morning. That's what the Pioneer Woman was cooking. How are they going to get cut if they don't have a knife? And what's to keep someone from grabbing the knife and plunging it into somebody's chest? We have a significant heart problem. Again, I'm not completely sure I know the answer. I know that if we can change our hearts, we can change our minds and we can reduce crime. We can reduce violence. It's not going to go down to zero because it will never go down to zero. We have had crime and violence since the Code of Hammurabi. Have you read the Bible? Even if only as a history book, there was all kinds of violence in biblical times. And you move on into the Crusades, which again have been mislabeled and lied about essentially. The wars, the gang wars, World War II, World War One. You understand what I'm saying? We're never going to get down to zero. But if we can help people change their hearts so that their response, if there is even a need for one, and I used to be one of those. I used to be one of those. I am learning in my very old age that not every slight requires a response. Most of them probably don't. And if you're going to respond, not every response needs to be aggressive or violent in nature. Is there a time for that? Absolutely, there is. And you know what? You know when that time is. You will know. Trust me, you will know. We're going to talk about that as it relates to cops in just a minute, but, or before the show ends anyway. But Ecclesiastes, King Solomon wrote, and the birds sang about it, and we've talked about it. To everything there is to every time there is a season. There is a season for aggressiveness and violence. I would argue we're there with Iran. Every time we attack, they decide they want to talk. They lie and conceal and everything else. And for some reason, we buy it. That lasts about 2 or 3 days. Then they're doing the same thing. And here we go again. We need to probably blow them off the face of the earth. I've said it before. I will say it again. Your grandkids, my grandkids are almost out of school, when shown a map of the Middle East, and what is that big black spot there? That is a country that pissed us off. That is a country that continued to attack us. We have not attacked them. They have attacked us and have done so for 40 some years. Now, I may get thrown off YouTube for that. But the greater point here is that maybe it's the time of the season, as the zombies sang, to just end it once and for all with Iran. To everything, there is a season. This too will pass. But remember, crime is down, murder is down significantly, and will probably end 2026 with a slightly lower rate than we had in 2025, which was the lowest ever murder rate. Now, don't tell that to the families of the people that died last weekend. But let's look at assaults. I don't know that I have seen anything that talked about assaults. That's another discussion for another time. Be aware. Know how you're going to get out of a situation. Know when to leave a situation, whether it's a party, corporate dinner, an event, a concert, or a movie, or whatever it happens to be. Know what to do have a plan, and again, be willing to leave if that is what is necessary to protect your world. When we come back, we're going to talk prisons for a minute and transgender, your security guys. Back in a moment. All right, we are back. Let's talk a little prisons. And we're going to talk more about prisons in another show, but specifically here, we're going to talk about transgenders in prison. Now, I do not understand transgenderism. I do not. I know that that may upset somebody. I know that our beautiful daughter was probably apoplectic. She's not going to watch this probably, but I don't understand it. One is either a male or a female, except in very rare cases. And even then they get to make a choice. You cannot change your sex. You cannot change who God made you to be. Now, you may not be happy with that, and that is certainly okay. You may be upset with that, and that too is okay. But you cannot change who you are. Let me rephrase that and say what you are, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you can't call yourself anything you want to? Sure. But what should public agencies, particularly for our purposes, cops, courts, corrections, do with that? Do they treat you as the person you say you are, the person in the vernacular that you identify as? Or do they treat you as the person you are? Now here's the truth. Men in women's prisons are a problem. Now, to some extent, I'm even talking correctional officers, but that's not the focus of this point. Men in women's prison are a problem because when they do what some people do in prison, they do it, I presume, at least the reports are, they generally do it the way heterosexuals do it. And there are a lot of women in that prison who would love to do it that way. Just creates issues. Plus the fact that he is not a she. He's not. He needs to be in the male prison. She needs to be in a female prison. Because she, in a male prison, and by she I mean a biological woman, in a male's prison as an inmate is the same kind of a problem as a biological male inmate is in a female prison. It's the same issue. Why should we add to the problems of corrections because some people, politically, publicly, meaning public government agencies, doctors, can't or won't speak the truth? Why should we pay for whatever gender affirming care means for someone who is an inmate? There's a big hue and cry right now because for the most part, most states are putting female inmates with junk in a male prison. Why? Because they're male at the end of the day. And there are a lot of people who are unhappy with that. There are a lot of people who are upset with that. These are the same people who, by their own admission, want to shut down prisons, shut down policing. The Democratic Socialists, I don't remember what the A stands for, DSAs, whole group got elected in New York City and New York State this last primary, 2 months ago or whatever. It's there. It's in their policy. It's in their what they want to accomplish. I'm drawing a blank on the word. I apologize. What they stand for. It's in there. I didn't make that up. Now you can agree with that if you want. That's up to you. But they have said that. And what do you think is going to happen if we open the prisons and just unload? What do you think is going to happen if we defund police? Now, yes, here again, the argument is starting to be made. Look at crime. Crime is down. We don't need as many cops. Crime is down, yes. But we don't know why. The best criminologists, the best criminal justice people in this country don't know for sure. Actually, generally speaking, they don't have an idea. They don't know why crime is down. Is it because policing is starting to be more proactive? I don't know. I've got a couple of use of force stories toward the end of the show that scares me. I'll be honest with you, scares me. Scares me for cops, scares me for you as the protectee of the cops. Admittedly, not all of you are vulnerable, but you get the point, I hope. So the feds aren't paying for gender affirming care, whatever that is, they shouldn't. And they are executing transgenders. Well, hey, guess what? The great philosopher, police philosopher, Beretta said it best, and you all know what's coming. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. It really is that simple. And whether you are transgendered, whatever that means, or you're a male, or you're a woman, or you're old, or you're young, if you don't want to die in prison, if you don't want to be executed, don't do the crimes that will get you life or life without or death. Don't do any crime at all. Probably the best bet. But still, we have people who do it. And in some places, they get the appropriate punishment. And then we have people who BMW about that. Well, he was just, well, she didn't know. Well. It is really pretty simple at the end of the day. If you don't do crime, then you don't have to run the risk of paying the price. But got a heartwarming story for you. When we come back, your security guys, don't touch the button. Oh, by the way, back to the mass shootings and who knows, there was a story. This wasn't part of the weekend mass shooting, but some guy was moving out of an apartment complex and he had just renewed some kind of a parking contract, I believe it was. He called, he tried to get out of the contract, uh, didn't happen for whatever reason. Well, they told him he had already signed the contract. See, here again, bureaucracy, no matter how big or how small, sometimes create issues. If the guy is moving out after he just re-signed a parking contract, how hard is it to say, okay, Mr. Smith, when you have moved out, send us your forwarding address, or if like most things now, uh, payments are automatically taken out of an account, and we will refund the $35 for the parking or whatever it happens to be. But I want it now. No, sir. Well, I understand that. But if you're moving out, when you have moved out, let us know, or we'll know and we'll do it automatically. But you can have the refund after you've moved out. But no, for whatever reason, they told this guy it was too late, too bad. You cannot cancel the contract. He got pissed off, walked into the office, shot and killed three people. Of course, now he is an immigrant. It's in Minnesota. And now he's claiming he's an immigrant and he was being discriminated against and whatever. But again, and again, and again, we talked a little bit about this, probably not as much as we should have. So we're going to talk about it more in another show. But if you're in a position, a work position, when you tell somebody no, and I'm broadly talking here. When you tell someone no, when you tell someone they're fired, when you tell someone they're being investigated, you need to be prepared for bad stuff happening. Now, the vast majority of the time, nothing bad is going to happen. Oh, the guy may yell and scream. He may call you names, but that's as far as it goes. And if you can't handle yelling and screaming and you can't handle being called names, you probably don't need to be doing the job that you're in. I'm not entirely sure you should be roaming around the world, to be honest with you. But when you tell somebody they cannot do something, cops face this every single day. Part of the reason that firemen are so well liked is, for the most part, they don't tell people they can't do something. They may tell people how to do it better. They may tell people how to make it more secure or safer or fire resistant or whatever it happens to be. But they, as a general rule, do not tell people they can't do something. Cops do it all the time, and the same thing happens to them. Happens in business all the time. You've seen it on TV, I'm sure, a jillion times or in the movies. When you're going to do that. And frankly, now most of these juveniles have had other issues. But there have been cases where juveniles were told no by their parents, grandparents, foster parents, and guess what? Yeah, you got it. They went and got a gun or some other implement of violence and killed them dead. And dead is dead. There ain't no coming back from dead, at least in this world. But told you there was some good news. There is. And I hope and pray that their father did what most fathers ought to do. And fathers need to do this, not mothers. Two Connecticut teenagers. Let me just read this to you. Too brave, and this comes from Red State. Now, as I tell my students, Red State is a conservative leaning, it's a conservative leaning, it is a conservative website. Doesn't mean they're wrong, doesn't mean their news stories are biased necessarily, but you need to know from where people are coming, right? You just need to know. Two brave Connecticut teens successfully fended off an alleged would-be rapist who allegedly threatened them with a knife and attempted to drag them into the woods around Kettleton State Park near Oxford. He was 23 years of age. He had been living in his car. That tells you almost everything you need to know. He was sorry, but that he was into, here we go, aggressive pornography and just wanted to act out a sexual fantasy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. I know a lot of men, only men, I mean, there are women that this happens to as well. I know a lot of men who are addicted to pornography and their life sucks, and they will tell you their life sucks. Okay? I also know a whole lot of people, mostly those that view child pornography, who get tired of watching. They want to participate, hence leading to the abuse, sexual abuse of children. And these are teachers, these are parents, these are other relatives, these are coaches. Yes, these are cops, these are judges, the whole nine yards. And I've seen, to be fair, adult men, again, I don't know that I know that women view pornography. I know that, well, I believe that if men can be addicted to pornography, and they can, so too can women. Though, admittedly, I don't know that I've met a woman that was addicted to pornography. But men, many men, some men, many men who view pornography, they're the ones that are the buyers of trafficking victims. Some of the times they are aggressive with those victims. Did that make sense? That sentence made more sense up here than perhaps it did when it came out. Pornography is an evil that must be crushed, must be combated, and that combat needs to lead to crushing defeat. But back to the positive part of this. So he grabs one of these two girls. He's been charged with all kinds of appropriate crimes. He grabs one of the girls, uh, puts her in a chokehold, holds a knife to her throat, forces them further into the woods, all the time threatening them and pulling the hair, and he's got the knife and the whole nine yards. He pushes one to the ground after she goes for her phone, covers her mouth, trying to restrict her ability to breathe. She manages to get away and throws rocks at him, hits him in the head. There's a picture of him. He's got a big bandage on his head. That enables the second girl to get away. She starts throwing rocks. They head to the parking lot screaming for help, and a good citizen intervenes, calls the cops, and there you have it. Now, he wasn't very smart. He ran up a hill, threw the phone to throw the phone into the off the mountain, as it were, in this park, but somehow lost his car keys. And, you can't go very far without car keys, right? But kudos to these girls, and kudos to their parents, or maybe even a teacher or two, maybe something they learned in school. They were not going to be a victim. And ladies and gentlemen, I will say this to you again, and women, you need to pay particular attention here. Number one, that's not necessarily the situation in this case, but number one, never go anywhere with anybody who's trying to force you into it. Force you into a car. Well, if you don't go, I'm going to kill you. Well, then kill me right now, because I ain't going with you. And if you make the decision to fight back, and some of you will be forced into that decision, fight to the death, because that's what the situation calls for. Don't be nice. Don't be soft. You fight like you're the third animal getting onto the ark. Because at that point, that's where we are. And I applaud you for that. If more people did that, trust me when I tell you, it doesn't matter what the bad guy says, what the shitbird, the turd, the maggot, the bad actor, the criminal, whatever you want to call them, it doesn't matter what they say. Oh, just get in the car and I'm not going to hurt you. Yes, he will. Even if he's not going to kill you, and he's probably going to kill you, he will hurt you. You fight like it's your life, because it is. And as soon as he's down and you can get out of there, that's what it's about. It isn't about holding him for the cops or anything else. Now, hopefully, you're aware enough that you can get a good description of the guy. Okay. Take some deep breaths. When that happens, take some deep breaths. 4 in, hold for 4, 4 out. Now, some people say it's 6 or 7 in, hold 6 or 7 out, whatever. Take some deep breaths so you can calm down a little bit and begin to understand your surroundings, look at the bad guy, etc. And when you can get away, when you have pummeled him enough to where you can get away, then get away. Adios, muchachos, because we are not going to play this game anymore. I'm out of here. And by the way, and I don't know whether we have any runners here. And if we do, and I should have said this at the beginning, I'm going to borrow from Brian Dawson, 1819 News podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. We need that here at Your Security Guys. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. And speaking of the 1819 podcast, if you have not checked it out, you need to do so. Great information, whether you're in Alabama or not. Great information, great guests. You need to pay attention to that podcast. And you need to like, subscribe, comment, and share this podcast so other people can get the information and tools they need to better protect their world. In fact, I found a 3-part article about what we need to do to keep our girls safe. I don't know if that individual also wrote one for boys, but, and I haven't completely read the article yet, so it's a 3-parter, but it's probably very similar to what we tell kids or kids generally, okay? But kudos to these Connecticut girls. They knew what to do and were not afraid to do it. And by the way, as long as we're on this subject, Jason Hansen, a former CIA officer, and he says that in all of his publicity stuff, so I'm saying it. He had a really good article the other day. Look him up, Jason Hansen, Hansen, if you want to get his email briefs. They're really pretty good. But he had one the other day that really we've talked about before on the show, and that's disrupting the pattern, interrupting the pattern. Okay. What does that mean? What that means is if you're walking out of a store and you walk into your car and you see somebody that you think is following you, let's say. Well, first of all, you want to project confidence. You don't want to project victimization. You want to project confidence. Take your breathing, do what you got to do, and then turn around and do something to interrupt the pattern. His recommendation in many cases is to ask the person for the time. Excuse me, sir. Do you know what time it is? Well, you're wearing a watch. Look for yourself. Well, I am, sir, but my battery just died. I didn't recharge it. Can you tell me what time it is, please? Excuse me, sir. I I got lost in this parking lot. Remember, you're not yet at your car. If you think somebody's following you, do not go to your car. I got turned around. Do you know where Macy's is? Or do you know where the coffee shop is? Now, hopefully, you didn't just come out of Macy's, but you get the point. If you're aware of your surroundings, you can you and let's face it, if you go to the mall enough or the strip center, are there any malls around anymore? Then you probably know a store that is opposite where you are. What that does is it breaks this guy's pattern. Because what he wants is he wants a victim. And he wants to surprise and he wants to be scary and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of these assholes are. Asshole, by the way, is a viable criminological term. And a lot of these guys are. But when you project that air of confidence and you turn around and you engage him. Now, I'm not talking about that you're 3 feet from him, but you're turning around and you're engaging him. He knows you've seen him. He now knows, or at least reasonably believes, that you know what he looks like, that you will be able to give a description of this guy. And it is quite likely that he will move on to another victim. And that is not your problem. I hate to say that, but that is not your problem. Your situation is to protect you and yours. Now, if you can help somebody else out, great, wonderful. With whatever you feel comfortable doing in those those situations. But your number one responsibility is you and yours. And if this guy goes to another side of the parking lot, to the other side of the mall, whatever, and victimizes somebody, that is not on you. And sometimes that's hard. That's hard to accept. That's hard to understand. That's sometimes hard to live with. Now, usually that has to do with survivors' guilt and that sort of thing in military situations, police related situations, etc. But it's not your problem. Interrupt the pattern. If you're carrying a weapon and you reach the point to where you need to use your weapon, do something to interrupt what we call the OODA loop. There's a movie. In fact, I think John Wayne has done it in several westerns, but and I don't remember the name of the movie. I just don't remember the name of the movie. But he's got a guy's got a gun on him, and he takes his hat off, or he's holding his hat to begin with, and it may have been the shootist, but he throws the hat toward the guy. Oh, the guy kind of jumps back. John Wayne gets the boom, shoots him, and that's the other thing. And I wish my attorney buddy would respond to a text. He's also the son of a very dear friend of mine, and I keep texting him as much about his dad as anything, and he doesn't respond. But that's okay. But if you've decided that this is a situation that requires you to use your weapon, by weapon I mean your gun. You don't have to say halt. You don't have to say freeze. You don't have to say drop your gun, point and shoot. At that point, you are in fear for your life, point and shoot. Now, if I'm wrong, I will let you all know, but I don't think I am. Point and shoot, point and shoot, point and shoot. Now, as long as we're talking about that, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, give you what happened over this weekend, recording this on a Sunday, and then talk about point and shoot, point and shoot, point and shoot. Your security guy is back in a flash. And we are back. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in Berlin because it goes back to what we talked about last weekend, about what we talked about happened last weekend. Guy in Berlin, he was a terrorist on a terrorist watch list, Islamic terrorist, as it happens. He plows a car into a pride party or parade, a pride parade. So you see, it doesn't matter one's ilk. It doesn't matter where one is. It's not a gun issue. It is not a gun violence issue because guns don't do anything. People do. It is a people issue. You want to argue it's a violence issue. Okay, fine. I have no real, I don't think that's the best description, but I don't have an issue with that because it is the people who are violent. And they're using coffee mugs and they're using knives and they're using vehicles to express their violence. And that is absolutely ridiculous. But what it does mean is that everywhere you go, no matter what you are, and I don't mean what you are as a pejorative, you need to be aware of your surroundings. If things don't look right, they probably aren't. Get the hell out of there. It really is that simple. If for whatever reason you can't, Then find an escape route. Look for cover and concealment. And remember, if you're going with a group of people, especially if that group is your family, have a plan on where to meet. Because if things go bad, and it could be weather related, we have worked a ton of shows over my history of working shows where we had to evacuate because of weather. Sometimes we came back, sometimes we didn't. But you need a plan for where you're going to go if you have to get out of there, because it is it is inevitable that somebody will get lost or get away from the pack. And I hate to say this, if you're going somewhere that is liable to bring out the kooks, maybe you don't want to go. Well, that's not fair. That's not right. May not be fair and it may not be right, but it could very well save your life or the life of someone you care about. I used to have this clip. I may still have this clip somewhere. I don't know. ESPN did a thing on gangs in sports. Yes, there are gangsters that are playing professional sports. And Dr. Charles Knox, a gang expert, is on video and he's talking about he's based out of Chicago, taught at Chicago State for many years. And he says people are wearing these jerseys and they're being beat up and they're being shot, etc. If you are a Chicago Bulls fan and you want to wear a Chicago Bulls jersey, you ought to be able to do that. And I agree with that 100%. But if you're going to do that, then you need to know that there are probably areas you don't need to go because you're liable to get, at the very least, bullied, if not beat up, if not killed. And you're not a gangster. And your child is not a gangster. But now I know we hear this from feminists a lot when you're talking about victims and victimization, rape in particular. And please hear what I'm saying and don't hear what I'm not saying. Women have the right to wear whatever they want to wear or go wherever they want to go. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But if you wear something that maybe you shouldn't, not everything is made for every woman. And just because it's in your size doesn't mean you ought to wear it. Come on. I don't care who you are. That was funny. And you go somewhere where that is liable to create an issue. What point are you trying to prove? That you can wear whatever you want and go wherever you want? It kind of falls apart if you get beaten, raped, or kidnapped, doesn't it? And yes, we are there. We are not there everywhere, and I do believe that is changing a bit, but we're there. And if you don't like it, then do your part to change it, whether it's at work, at school, church, whatever it happens to be. Do your part to change it. Otherwise, be aware and have a plan. Really is that simple. All right, so we're going to wind down today with something that really, really, really bothers me. Now, admittedly, I'm not on the road like I used to be. Admittedly, I am well aware of the fact that policing has changed since I was on the road, And since a lot of the people that I hung out with have been on the road. But why are police officers asking people multiple times to do something, particularly when that something is aggressive, assaultive, or violent? Violent. There are at least two stories that came out this past week. One in Meridian, Mississippi, I think. No, excuse me, Meridian, Connecticut. I don't know what to call. If you watch the video, and you can get on Police One to watch the video, you could probably search for Meridian, Connecticut use of force and find it that way. I don't know what the call was, but as the police officer rolls up, he jumps out of the car. You can see the guy on his body cam beating, turns out, his father, a son beating his father with a baseball bat. And the cop tells him to drop the bat 3 or 4 times. Why? As it was, if memory serves me correctly, this is the one. Yeah, the cop fired 20 rounds before the guy stopped. Ultimately, I think he only stopped because he got hit finally. Now, firing 20 rounds, that's another discussion for another time. That doesn't surprise me a whole lot. What I don't understand is why, when he got out of that car, he called for help and shot. You do not have to, especially as a cop, you don't have to say drop your gun. If the situation allows for you to say things, then you might want to say things so you don't necessarily have to shoot somebody. But many a time you roll up, the situation is out of hand. You got to take action right then. That's what you're getting paid for. Then there's another example. This was at now in this case, I think they were university cops. That may have created some issues. But again, I'm not entirely sure what the call is. Hold on, let me see if I can. Eight minutes. This comes from the Blaze. 8 minutes the cops tried to talk to a transgender. I don't think that has a whole lot to do with it one way or the other. Who's yelling, use my pronouns, use my pronouns, use my pronouns, in order before he will consent to being arrested. Excuse me? You don't consent to be arrested. Now, it took place in Florida on a college campus. I don't know whether the cops were campus cops or not. They're there legitimately to deal with a car theft. This guy's running his mouth, etc. 8 minutes they talk to him before they cuff him up. And he's yelling and screaming and use my pronouns and it's she and all of that. Okay, I don't know what they said. I don't know that there was video of this. Okay. I don't know whether he even would have gone to jail. They wanted him to lower his voice. 7 minutes they spend, quote, shouting repeated orders at the increasingly aggressive individual. He's scared, he says. He says, stop harassing him. Don't they all say that? They say, sir, he doesn't like being called sir. Use my pronouns. Okay, fine. Later, but not when you're impeding something. Why are we waiting? Why? I don't understand. Now, I know what I'm about to say. You're going to say, no, it's a movie and all of that. Have you watched Lioness? Have you watched John Wick? Have you watched Reacher? When the time for action comes, most especially if you're the police, then do it. Don't spend 8 minutes trying to convince somebody to do something that you're ordering them to do. Especially now with body cams. Sir, I need you to put your hands behind your back. I don't know what else they said. Maybe they said you're under arrest. Sir, I'm going to need you to put your hands behind your back. I'm not going to do it. Now, I would argue, because I'm old, that if you're not going to use verbal judo, but even in verbal judo, you're only going to ask 4 times. 4. That ain't going to take 8 minutes. That's probably not even going to take 4 minutes. Sir, I'm giving you a lawful legal command. Put your hands behind your back. I am not going to do it. Sir, is there anything I can say to get you to go along with us on this? I ain't doing it. Before he finishes a sentence, he needs to be handcuffed. And if that means he's being taken to the ground, then you take him to the ground. It's that simple. And cops know this. They don't do it because the administration either won't allow it or won't support him, throw him under the bus. And we wonder why we can't find cops in some cities. It's because the police administration or the city administration or the county administration, you don't see this too much with state troopers, state police, believe it or not, will not support them. If the cop screws up, then deal with it in an appropriate manner. But if your cops are too complacent, if your cops are going to wait too long to do something, then somebody's going to get hurt, somebody's going to get killed, and many times it's going to be the cop. And now you're going to have a dead cop on your hands. I asked at the beginning of this, why are they doing it? I know why they're doing it. But it's got to stop. It has to stop. Complacency kills, hesitancy kills. Now, if you want to take 8 minutes and not say the same thing over and over and over for 8 minutes, that's a tactical decision. It's an operational decision. But if you're going to say the same thing over and over again and the individual is not going to comply, it ain't going to be any different in the 8th minute as it was in the 2nd minute. So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt for the 1st minute. But the 8th minute, if it's the same as the 2nd minute, 5 minutes ago, you should have done something. That's it. That's all. I hope that this has been helpful and informative. And if you have any influence in any of these areas, please exercise your influence, whether it's at the voting polls, whether it's going to a city council meeting, a education board meeting, whatever it happens to be. If you can, do something. And remember to be careful out there and to do it to them before they can do it to you.